we go. All right. So Erica, could you just tell us first of all, how old is Avery?
She's 2.5. She'll be 3 in July.
Okay, perfect. And you are on night 7 of sleep school. I'd love to know how was it before you joined sleep school, and I'd love to then hear sort of what the progress has been so far.
Yep. So prior to sleep school, I like to describe it as every night was a hostage negotiation. So it was 1.5 to 2 hours. We've pretty much tried everything, but Avery, just read books, jump on the bed, have to go to the potty 5 times, and she's hungry. Mom and dad would ultimately lose their temper and patience. She would end up crying. And that's basically what we did every night.
Yeah. And how long would that take you to put her down?
Most nights she didn't go to sleep till 9 p.m. And my husband and I both work full time. So it was really challenging because we basically had minimal time together, no time to decompress at the end of our day. It was just, okay, try to eat dinner. And then we have to start this 2-hour process and get in a bad mood.
Yeah, completely. And okay, so that's where you started, and we're halfway through. And could you tell a little bit about sort of what you've seen so far, some of the experiences, insights?
Yep. So night 1 was very stressful. We weren't quite prepared for the reaction from Avery. So it started a little rocky, but immediately from night 2, like once we figured out and learned night 1 and what we did wrong and how we can better organize ourselves, from night 2 on, so it's really only been 6 days, but we've seen immense progress. So Avery now on her own pretty much gets into the bed around 7:45 and is very calm and ready to play. And that little time in her bed has become like very enjoyable for us. We actually look forward to it now. And, then we turn her light red, which means it's time to go to bed. And, she's upset. She's not ready to go to bed, but she just kind of sit there, some crying. But overall, it takes a lot less. It's a lot more structured. So we're not upset or stressed. It's just much easier to manage. She's sleeping. I've had to wake her in the morning the last 2 days. So I'm thinking she's more comfortable with the concept of sleeping. And last night, I only had to speak to her over her monitor twice, and she pretty much went back to bed immediately, like within 10 seconds. So I slept last night too, and it was great.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And we'll check in at the end and see where you get to in terms of progress then.
Great.
All right. So I'm sorry, I know we've just spoken about it, but I'd love to hear again so you're 3 days, you finished on Friday with Avery, and how are things going?
Yeah, it's been wonderful. So for the most part, bedtime, we do it for just 10 minutes. And I know we have the option to do less, but we enjoy like that 10 minutes with her. She's very calm during this time. And then we turn the light red and she basically knows it's time to go to bed. And, over the past like 2 weeks or so, it takes her anywhere from like 10 to 30 minutes, but she's just there in her bed by herself, stroking her hair or just with her stuffed animals. And that's like her quiet time. And so, like my husband and I eat dinner together again and, just get to talk. Like it's really changed our lives for the better.
Amazing. And we just said before as well, I sort of asked you how was sleep school looking back? So yeah, how did you find the program? Because I guess with hindsight, it probably changes when you enter sleep school. You don't know what to expect. There's probably a lot of questions. And looking back now, how do you view the journey? How was it?
Yeah, so my daughter is almost 3, and we've really been struggling with putting her to bed probably for about 8-9 months now, where every night it took about 2 hours and a lot of frustration. My husband and I didn't have any real time together at night. Like sometimes we couldn't eat dinner. It was just a mess. And so when I found Batelle, it was really just like this hope, like, oh my God, maybe this will work. Like we have to do it. It was our last resort. And leading up to it, I mean, I was very involved, like did all the reading, watched the videos, because I was very like anxious in a good way to get started. I was a little suspect about the hug. Like at first it made me a little uncomfortable because it's like, well, she can't get out of the bed. Like, how is this going to be for her? So I was definitely a little nervous about it. And, you know, the first night, just being honest, was just a disaster. She did not like the hug at all. She had a huge meltdown. There was a lot of crying. My husband was definitely not as prepared as I was. So he got very frustrated. It kind of just like didn't change. Like night one was just bad, but she slept in her bed, and that was a change. But really from night 2 on, I feel like after we got through that first night, you know, we had a lot of help from Miss Megan to help us understand like what her reaction was and how we can also respond better. But yeah, from night 2 on, it was just like life-changing. She slept in her bed every night since. It's so much easier. It's predictable. There's no stress. And I think, I mean, she likes sleep now. Like she's ready to go into her bed. She's calm, she's happy. So
Amazing. And does she like the hug?
yeah, I think, you know, after the first night, I think it was very different for her, right? She was sleeping in our bed, jumping around, completely doing whatever she wants. And suddenly there was this thing on her, and like she had a boundary. But we did some practice the next day and just told her, like, you know, the hug is cozy and it helps you and it keeps you safe. We put her stuffed animals in it and made like a game of it, like made them like the hug. And now we make it a game, right? Like she puts her feet where it is, and then she does a big jump to lay down, and we pull it up, and she'll say like cozy and like touch it.
Amazing.
She's just used to it now. It's kind of just like her blanket. Like it's just part of her bedtime routine.
Amazing. Amazing. And then you mentioned that right after sleep school, you actually traveled somewhere. How did you navigate that? Could you tell us a bit more?
So it's something I spoke to the Batelle team, like leading up, like, should we start the program now? Because, you know, it was just a one-night trip, but I was nervous, like, you know, we do all this effort for this program, and then like one night, is it just gonna, you know, create, you know, we're just gonna, I'm blanking on the word. But she was fine. Like we brought the hatch light with us. We had one big bed, so we stayed together. And, you know, when we were at the hotel, she was calm, but it took her very long to go to sleep. But I was more anxious about when we come back to our house. But she was fine. It was completely smooth. Like we spoke to her like, oh, you're back in your bed now. You have your hug. You're going to sleep so much better today. And she just went to bed. It was like, no change.
Amazing. Thank you. Any other thing, anything else? Otherwise, I think that's super useful, because it's actually the first parent that we've been able to see halfway through and then also at the end. So
I mean, yeah, the only thing I'll say, and like my husband and I were just talking about a few days ago, I just wish we found you guys sooner. I already shared it. I have a friend who has like a 10-month-old, and I already told her she should do it. It's just, it's so easy. Like that's all.
amazing. Thank you so much. Really, Erica. Yeah, thank you so much.